All righty, let's get right to it. Introduce Ric Bucher, FS1 TV analyst. He's also the host of On the Ball with Ric Bucher podcast. What's up, Rick? How are you, man?
Rick.
I'm doing well. I had no idea that Guru had blown up the way that he has. It's one thing for someone to simply be known by a nickname or one name like Guru, but now Joe, who just called me to dial me up, referred to him as Goo. When you are down to one syllable, you have clearly made it. There's very few people I know that get there.
Rick, so, the great Dan Dibley taught me in this business. There's a thing called material, and I think a lot of our listeners think you might be running it right now. Well, we love you, baby.
Hey, Rick, let me ask you, start out with some Warrior stuff, obviously. Where did you kind of have them at the end of the season looking to next year, kind of where they fit? And then since they've made the Chris Paul move in the draft, where do you think they are in terms of the West's pecking order?
That's it's a great question. I have them in the mix. Look, Denver to me is at the top, and I look at the Warriors as being in that collective of old guards with proven veterans, sort of in that Lakers, Clippers, and the Warriors in that pool. And the question is, who's coming out of that pool versus the young guns, who I would look at as the Memphis Grizzlies and the Sacramento Kings? And where you put the Phoenix Suns, they're kind of on their own out there, just as a incredibly top-heavy team with talent that, for the most part, is still in its prime with Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. But I don't, as much talent as they have, I don't probably have more confidence in the Warriors being able to find a way to be competitive. And depending on injury and everything else, I see it overall as a race to see who is going to play the Denver Nuggets in the conference finals. And I would say that I give the Warriors as much a chance of doing that as any other team, and I think those odds have improved with getting Chris Paul for Jordan Poole. I'm of the belief that he's going to make them more efficient. He's not the defender he once was, but he's still a better defender than Jordan. And I think he's going to be able to, with his IQ, be able to get more out of Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody and whatever young pieces they have, just because that's what he does. He creates shots for other guys, and he makes the game easy.
You know what, Rick? Steiny was talking to the fans and myself, because I'm one of them. We've been spoiled. And the 4th of July, I'll never forget when it was announced Katie was coming to town, as opposed to this year, where financially they're finally just strapped. But it takes me to Bob Myers. When that whole thing was going on about was he coming or going, did you have a feel? And are you shocked that he's not here now? And would there be anything differently done if he were at the helm?
No, I've been hearing for a year that Bob was going to step away, and there was some talk about the Clippers were going to come after him. Obviously, I'm sure you guys talked about it, but I've heard more than anything else that he was worn out. And knowing as a father of two kids, I've been through that. 2 young kids, and the time and energy required to keep the Warriors where they've been, it all made a ton of sense. So I was not the least surprised by the announcement or by his decision. I really don't know that they would be in a particularly different position, and I think it's why they promoted from within with Dunleavy Jr. I also expected that because of the deep relationships within the Warriors organization. I didn't see any way in which you would go outside of the organization and hire someone to remake the team. It was let's run this thing to the end of the road for as long as we can. And having someone who familiar with the Warriors organization, who's been around, made all the sense in the world. So none of that surprised me. And as you pointed out, like, fans don't want to hear this. They think you can constantly, reinvent yourself. Not unless you're willing to do some really dramatic things, like move a Klay Thompson or move a Draymond Green. Then you're capable of reinventing yourself. But if you're going to say, we believe more in our institutional knowledge and our chemistry, then particularly with this new collective bargaining agreement and as much money as the Warriors have spent, you're not going to have any dramatic changes. Chris Paul for Jordan Poole is probably about as dramatic as you can get. So they did as much as I would think that they could do.
Ric Bucher joining us on 95.7 The Game. He's an FS1 TV analyst, and he's also got his own pod, On the Ball with Ric Bucher. What do the Portland Trailblazers owe Damian Lillard, if anything, as they try to move him?
That's always a tricky question. There's a part of me that would say, well, they owe him the money that they've already given him. I think that they owe it to themselves, to be honest with you, to play this right. And not only to play it right, but to embrace it. Not to look at it and say, make it contentious and say, well, everybody knows Damian wants to go to Miami, but we're going to do what's best for the organization. You don't have to create that situation, because the reality is stars get to go where they want to go, by and large. Donovan Mitchell is the one exception to that, and I look at Joe Cronin as the GM in Portland, and I don't know that he's Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge will do stuff like that.
Right.
But I don't know that Cronin would or should with a guy like Damian. If I were him, I would be approaching it as, we want to do right by Damian. He gave us 11 great years and is the face of the franchise, and we want to send him to where he wants to go. But obviously, he has been the face of the franchise. He has been, the cornerstone of this franchise. So we can't just give him away. But if we can make something work, if Miami can find a way to get the assets that would make this palatable for us, then we'd be fine with moving Damian to Miami. And that way, the onus, it doesn't become contentious. The onus now is on Damian and Aaron Goodwin, his agent, and Pat Riley and everybody else, because everybody would understand that. Okay, so they want Damian to get what he wants, but they need to get something in return. Nobody's going to argue with that, and it takes it away from being this thing like, Portland feels like it's getting screwed over, or they have to screw over Damian. It doesn't have to be that way, and it's just, to me, it's like PR 101. Just put the onus on everybody else to make this thing work, because at the end of the day, players end up getting what they want anyway. And in Portland, like, why? You got guys like Scoot Henderson and Shaden Sharp. You don't think they're looking at how the team handles this with Damian and all that Damian has done as an exemplary face of the franchise and involved in the community, and for 11 years, never said a word about going someplace else, always said, I'm here, which is not what every star does. He pledged allegiance to the Blazers. So, yeah, I guess, having talked my way through it, they do owe him. They owe him to do this the right way.
Rick, I got to be honest with you, man. I'm kind of despondent about the departure of Jordan Poole. If you could walk us through the first morning you woke up and you saw that video of Dre hitting him, Dre getting rewarded with 4 years. We've been hearing about the Warrior culture left and right. I thought I knew what it was, but Rick, they couldn't rectify and remedy what was that whole situation. So it doesn't sound like you're a Poole fan, but Rick, he was the best insurance policy, and I just hate that he's gone.
Yeah, I do too, but I put that on Jordan Poole. I know, like, you and probably plenty of Warriors fans or Jordan Poole fans are going to go, oh, what, it's his fault that he got cold cocked by Draymond Green? And I guess because I knew and had heard, like, it didn't start there. Like, Jordan was on a lot of players' nerves way before that, including Klay's and Steph's. And Draymond was finally the one who tipped the scales and went overboard. And I'm not defending at all what he did. But after he did it, Draymond tried everything possible to remedy that situation. And Jordan would have none of it. And I'm just looking at it as, Jordan, you have an opportunity to learn and exceed Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors, and a team that has put its eye on the prize of winning championships every chance they can. And you can't get over this situation with Draymond when Draymond's going to be gone at some point, and this is going to be yours. You couldn't see the big picture, and instead remained difficult, made sure that elephant was still in the room. Look, as a young guy, there's a part of me that understands. Maybe he just wasn't mature enough to get around that. But I look at it as, who did it cost the most? It cost Jordan Poole the most, as I look at it, because I would far rather be with the Golden State Warriors than the Washington Wizards. I don't care how many shots he's going to get there. And I think it was a blown opportunity by him because everybody tried to make it right, and he wouldn't allow that to happen over the course of this season. And I can't take away that part of it. You can't unwind the punch. Certainly regrettable. But once it had happened, it's like, okay, so how do we fix this? Everybody was willing to do that except Jordan. At least that's how it appeared to me.
Wow. Ric Bucher joining us on 95.7 The Game, FS1 TV analyst. Hey, do you think the Warriors are going to let Steve Kerr just coach the final year of his deal like Bob Myers did in the general manager position, or does he have to get extended this offseason?
Yeah, I would not be surprised if they pushed it out. And what I don't know is how eager Steve is to sign an extension. You guys might know that better than me. I haven't heard any conversation about that, and I certainly haven't had a conversation with him about that. But based on what I've been hearing over the last year, I would not have been surprised if Steve and Bob were bowing out together. Because I think that the grind of what they've had over the last 5, 6, 7 years has been, I don't think people appreciate like what that's been like. And so my only hesitation is I thought Greg Popovich was going to step up when Tim Duncan retired, and he's continued to coach. I do think Steve's in a different place with his family and everything else, but I know this is probably going to blow up the internet. Like, I would not be surprised if this was Steve Kerr's last year with the Warriors, as much by his choice as the Warriors.
Well, interesting. Rick, let me lay this on you. 2 years ago when the Warriors beat Boston in the finals, Klay Thompson returned that January, played the most minutes of any Warrior. This year against the Lakers, he was awful shooting in the Lakers series. He wasn't the only one. But, Rick, I know he can't guard ones and two. Where are you at with Klay Thompson? Because out here, when things go wrong, and I know he's made the most threes, he's taken the most, but I'm not out on Klay like a lot of Dub Nation are. Where are you at with Klay Thompson right now in his game?
I just need to see what kind of condition he comes back in. Because from what I understand, like, whether it was because of the injuries or the grind of getting back, like, that he didn't do a whole lot last summer. And I think that affected him in a major way. And so Klay Thompson, in coming back from those two devastating injuries, is a major success story. I mean, it's miraculous what he has done. So I'm going to be the last one to be critical of Klay whenever and however he plays. He is who he is. That said, like, I don't know if he can get back to any semblance of the old Klay. And it's not just a matter of defending like ones and twos. Like, his ability as a two-way player is truly what made him special. And he was not good defensively by any stretch. And so can he get back to some semblance of that? Would he be more effective now that you have another playmaker like Chris Paul? Is he going to get him better shots when they're on the floor together? That's what I don't know. So I'm not out on him, but if he's not what he once was, I don't think anybody should be surprised. Now, if he's thinking he's going to get a max extension, then we need to have a hard talk because he ain't that guy anymore, right?
No.
Would I still want him? Would I still want him here? Yeah, there's the sentimental part of me, and if I'm not mistaken, Steiny was a big and has probably still is a Celtics fan, but was of the Bird. That whole group, you saw that group grow old together, and they paid a price for it after the fact. I think you're going to see the same thing with the Warriors. Like, it's just too hard to break up that crew, so they're going to allow them to get old together, but you're going to have to suffer the fact that the team's not going to be as good as a result.
Yeah. Hey, Rick, just off the top of your head, if this were Kerr's last year, and we know Draymond's still under contract, and so who would coach the Warriors? Throw a name out there.
I'll be honest. I haven't given that a thought until the first time I really considered it was hear us talking about it and kind of knowing, where things are with Steve. It's a great question. I'd have to give that. I don't know if you're thinking like Draymond Green would step into that role. I think it's a little early for that. No.
I'm thinking, was it somebody on the staff or somebody from outside, something like that. But
yeah, and I'd have to kind of think about the history of who's been there and who's left and who could come back. And I wish I had a name for you off the top of my head, but I don't.
All right, buddy.
Hey, thanks
Good
a lot, Rick.
talking to you, and have a great rest of the summer, my man.
Thanks. You guys do the same.